It's time to share with you fresh news update from across federal ministries, agencies and parastatals on Ministry News. The Federal Executive Council (FEC) on Wednesday approved contracts worth 10.48 billion naira and $27.09 million respectively for the Federal Ministry of Power for the power sector. The Minister of Power, Abubakar Aliyu, while briefing State House journalists after the weekly council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari, said the contracts are for the purchase of major electricity transmission equipment that will further boost electricity supply across the country. The contracts are also for the procurement of 2 sets of power transformers, the construction of a transmission line in Kebbi State. The minister expressed optimism that the Presidential Power Initiative (PPI) remains on course to deliver on incremental power supply despite the setbacks with the Siemens power deal and sabotage on power infrastructure.
2 components, offshore and the onshore. The offshore is $25.8 million and the onshore is 10.2 billion naira.
The Federal Executive Council (FEC) has started the process of concessioning the Ajaokuta Steel Company and the Nation Iron Ore Mining Complex in Itakpe, both in Kogi State. In view of this, FEC has approved contracts worth 853 million naira for the revitalization and operation of both companies. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, who reported the approval granted by Council for the Ajaokuta and Itakpe Company, said the contract were about appointing contractors that would run the process of concessioning the companies. The minister said Council's decision was in response to one of the 2 memoranda presented by the Federal Ministry of Mines and Steel Development.
We believe that with this development would have made significant steps in bringing back to life both the Ajaokuta Steel Complex and the Iron Ore Company in Itakpe, and fast forward the industrial revolution of Nigeria.
The federal government has disclosed that the Badagry seaport is estimated to generate about $2.6 billion and create 5,000 direct and indirect jobs when operational. The Acting Director General, Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission (ICRC), Mr. Michael Ohiani, said this in Abuja when he and his team presented the full business case compliance certificate for the Badagry Deep Sea Port and the modular floating dock to the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi. Responding, the Minister of Transportation thanks the ICRC for its diligence, noting that the presentation reflected that the project was financially viable. He further noted that the ministry would write to the Federal Executive Council for approval on the projects. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Isa Ali Ibrahim Pantami, has asked a global ICT center for the training of Nigerians and Africans. The minister disclosed this during the kickoff of the implementation of the federal government and UAE Memorandum of Understanding aimed at providing ICT skills to Nigerian youths in Abuja. Professor Pantami also stated that the implementation of the MOU will see more than 100,000 Nigerians benefiting from the initiative beyond the agreement.
Our regulation is a developmental regulation. That adjective developmental has been attached to regulation in order to show that our purpose, our vision is to regulate the sector that will promote development, not in any way to restrict it unnecessarily or jeopardize it.
The federal government has shortlisted 18 preferred bidders for the concession of 12 federal highways under the Highway Development and Management Initiative (HDMI) The highways, which represents 1,963 kilometers of Nigeria's 35,000 kilometers federal highways, include Benin-Asaba, Abuja-Lokoja, Kano-Katsina, Onitsha-Owerri, Aba, Shagamu, Benin, and Abuja-Kefi-Akwanga highways, amongst others. In a statement in Abuja, the Special Advisor on Communications to the Minister of Works and Housing, Akim Bello, stated that the value-added concession request for proposal evaluation report was presented and approved on April 21st, 2022 at the project's steering committee meeting chaired by the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola. The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Defense, Ibrahim Kana, has said the federal government had concluded plans to create a brand new Ministry of Defense with a view to repositioning the sector. Mr. Kana, who gave the hint when he paid a familiarization visit to the Army headquarters on Wednesday in Abuja, said his appointment by the President came with a mandate to implement the approved reform of the ministry and armed forces to enhance efficiency. He further added that when created, the new Defense Ministry will see the various services operating under the same roof in a Pentagon-like style, where both military and civilian staff will be working together. He, however, pledged to work with the Army Chief to develop ways to move the Nigerian Army to greater heights. And still on defense matters, the Minister of Defense, Major General Bashiru Salihi Magashi, retired, has visited a proposed facility for the Nigerian Army in Kuje along the Airport Road, Abuja. Conducting the minister around the facility, the Executive Director of Vaxhorn Engineering Limited, Barrister Collins Aimuan, said the facility has 5 separate factory houses, with each comprising a production line, an office and residential accommodation, storage facilities, and an expanse of land for future development. The factories are for Pampers, parts, panty liner, textile, plastic bottles, as well as laboratory for recycling purpose. The Permanent Secretary and other key defense officials were on the entourage of the Minister of Defense. And finally, on ministry news, the federal government, through its National Homegrown Feeding Program, had fed 64,301 pupils, donated 20,000 utensils, engaged 762 cooks in 561 benefiting schools across Ebonyi State. The Minister of the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Umar Farouk, represented at the handover ceremony by a Special Assistant on Administration, Ingene Kingsley Bash, stated that over 9 million pupils on the program were being fed by over 100,000 cooks as employment was being created through the scheme. She, however, appealed to the benefiting schools to put the utensils to use so that the pupils would benefit more.
The Homegrown School Feeding Program is one of the 4 key interventions of federal government under the National Social Investment Program, which seeks to boost school enrollment, nutrition and local economy activities in thousands of communities across the nation.